Also for, okay, great. The meeting is being recorded. Yes, because we want to send the link to you all who have signed up. Continue. Okay. So I was speaking about the conscious co-creation. I hope this inspires everyone. And actually the topic of the call today is building a more conscious and meaningful and aligned life. One of the takeaways may be that you notice areas in your life where you can collaborate with people that you have met. So thank you for that, Ivan. I'm going to actually start projecting a few slides that I have prepared for the call today. Let's see how I can share screens. Share screen. Share. Awesome. Okay, can you see my screen? And I believe you can move easily.
Yes, we can see it, yes.
All right, fantastic. So to tell you a little bit about myself, as Ivan was saying, and we mentioned in the introduction, I'm a certified coach with the ICF, but also running my own company. As you can see, I've reorchestrated the word CEO. It's actually Chief Enjoyment Officer, because I believe the vibration and the quality of being that we bring into our company really counts. So actually my journey when it comes to the topic of personal development and personal growth started quite a few years ago when I moved from working more as a strategist and somebody who was focused on business. So my studies are economics and business, international business, more towards people development. So back in, if I'm to show you a little bit about my history, this is me 2 years ago. I was touring Africa, beautiful, beautiful continent, 15 countries, and working on building Africa's largest training academy for their biggest e-commerce company. And it all started actually from noticing that people in the company, as with all large organizations after a while, we're starting to get demotivated and we're starting to lose steam. So I, together with the team of management there, started thinking about how we can actually build more meaning into their work and build an academy that would allow them to better understand and manage themselves, better understand and manage their emotions, and therefore be able to motivate their teams and be able to create great partnerships across. And after 2 years of running the academy, I realized that my tipping point, because we all have different tipping points in life, it may be through a breakthrough or it may be through a breakdown that we all go through a tipping point. My tipping point had arrived whereby I noticed that I myself was getting demotivated, and I knew that there was time for me to make a change in my life. So I decided to take the jump and start building my own company, which I called Growth Hives, because as the concept of hives says it, as beehives, I'm also focused on conscious collaborations and conscious co-creations. The one thing that hasn't changed is that I'm passionate about growth, personal growth, organizational growth, and I'm really, really passionate about carrying people into the best life that they can create for themselves. Which actually has led me, before starting the company, to take a break. Most of last year I was actually traveling and immersing myself in all of my passions and all of my hobbies, and a lot of them actually had to do with psychology, mindset, with emotional well-being, and also energy and how to balance our own energy. So I ended up diversifying all of the certifications that I could get. I'm always, if there's one thing that really animates me, and I would say this is my best and also my most humble qualities, that I'm a constant learner. I love learning. I devour everything that comes into my hands that has to do with growth. So I guess you can call me a growth freak. Now, in a good way, a growth freak. Now, of course, that also means building a certain mindset. And the times we are living in are super, super interesting, because it really tests everything about ourselves, everything about the world we know as such, and everything we have learned so far. It tests all of the tools that we have at our hands when it comes to staying motivated, staying balanced, and staying on track with our goals and our dreams. So that is why for the first masterclass that we co-created, myself and Ivan, we wanted to look at particularly this topic, at how to build a purpose-driven and fulfilling life. So looking at shifting our focus from the current crisis, shifting our focus from fear and from anxiety to actually building something constructive, to making something worthwhile out of it. And actually, we looked at a model that comes from ancient Asian culture, more particularly Japan, because the Japanese are a people that are very, very well known for their resilience. They've gone through so many destructions and reconstructions of their own country, of their own culture. Yes, and also this is not only particular to Japanese cultures, but it's particular across the board in many Asian ancient cultures. It's looking at the crisis also as an opportunity for us to inquire, to go within, to see where am I actually serving, what is honoring and good for me and for my life, and where am I not? Where can I shift things so as to better align with my values? And where can I shift things so as to maybe better bring a contribution of value to the world we live in? Because obviously the world we have lived in up until now was not based on a 100% sustainable model. So there's a lot of things we need to look at. And we notice it nowadays from education and the way we run education. There's a lot of people going towards homeschooling, all the way to the medical system being overwhelmed in terms of capacity, by the demand that they are faced when it comes to the serious cases coming in. All the way up to how we understand our immune system and our bodies, and what is actually balancing, and what is looking at our life from a more holistic standpoint, so as to build more resilience in ourselves. So yes, I think I've already covered that, why this topic and why now. So yeah, in a nutshell, actually, this period of staying at home needn't necessarily be a very, very dreadful time. While saying that, I also I'm very, very honest by saying that I myself have gone through the complete roller coaster, which is normal. The roller coaster of emotions that we all go through when initially faced with a crisis of whatever sort and manner. Meaning that I had to face my fears as well. I have to face my anxieties. And also, given the fact that I'm an empath, it meant that I pick up a lot on other people's emotions. That may be the subject of another masterclass, how to actually stay within your own energy center so as to not be so much impacted by other people's emotions, but at the same time be able to hold space. So this was a test for me in the beginning, because I had to really use all of my tests, all of my tools the tools, the techniques, the methods that I learned across the last 5 years of my life when it comes to staying balanced, staying empowered, and coming back, because there's nothing wrong with falling off the center. We are all humans at the end of the day. There's nothing wrong with falling off the center, and there's no judgment behind it. There shouldn't be any judgment behind it. However, there is no reason why you shouldn't pick yourself back up constantly when you fall off center. And there are several tools that we have at our hands nowadays. The internet is a wealth of resources, has a wealth of resources, and there's also a lot of people offering masterclasses like this available that offer you the tools and techniques to build, to come back to your center and build a more meaningful life. So also a central point that I wanted to bring to your attention is the fact that really it's not only myself, but there's a lot of people out there who feel the same thing, that what we do now while staying at home and while being faced with this world crisis will determine, when we go outside of our homes, when we actually go outside, will determine how the world will look like in 5-10 years from now. Really, what we focus, where we focus our attention right now, what we invest in terms of quality time and quality energy from our side, will determine how the world will look like in 5 to 10 years from now. So then the question is, how would you like the world to look like in 5-10 years from now? And if that vision is crystallizing for you, then what are the steps you need to take to contribute? Because none of us is spared from contributing. What are the steps you need to take to contribute to that world vision? I believe we're all aiming towards a healthier, more balanced, more connected, and we see that the connection is emerging actually. More connected world, interconnected and aware of all the interconnections among ourselves, world coming out of this crisis. So yes, there never has been a better time than actually now, and while we're all sitting at home from the comforts of our living rooms or of our bedrooms, there has never been a better time to look at your purpose and your impact in the world. Because guess what? If we individually look at our own purpose and impact in the world, and we become conscious of how we're currently impacting even the small community among us, even our families and the small community around us, if we become conscious of how we're impacting our community, but also of how we would like to impact it in the future, imagine what that does to the whole of the world, to the whole of humanity. If more people would start to consciously look at that, it would create a ripple effect, a whole wave of in heightened consciousness and heightened responsibility towards the earth at the end of the day, and a more thriving world. Actually, it would create a more thriving world. So yes, let's look at exactly that. Without further ado, let's look at our purpose and our impact in the world. That is the focus of today's masterclass. And for those of you joining later, do not worry. We are recording. There is going to be a recording sent to you. Okay, yes. I don't need to remind you of this beautiful, beautiful soul who has made such a huge dent in the universe and in the world, especially when it comes to connection, right? To interconnectedness, the technological interconnectedness. So I encourage you, with the subject of today's masterclass, to really ask yourself, how am I here to put a dent in the universe? What are my particular skills? What are my particular passions that I can bring forth into the world? So yes, let's not live other people's lives. Let's live the best life that we can create and co-create. All right. So, of course, we didn't want to reinvent the formulas that are already work. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we looked at ancient practices that have proven to be really successful, useful, and grounding in the past when it comes to building a meaningful life. So today we are bringing back to your attention, or bringing for the first time to your attention, if it's the first time you get to learn about it, the concept of Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept stemming from two words, Iki, life, or it sounds also like chi if you think about Chinese, chi, life force, and in Japanese, Iki, life, and Kai, which actually has several meanings to it and can be translated in various ways, from worthiness to all the way to benefit. So Ikigai simply means, what's the benefit of you living here on earth right now? What is the benefit of you living on earth here right now? To the whole. Like to the whole. Not only to yourself, but to the whole. What is the tangible benefit of you living on earth right now? And that summarizes Ikigai. So it simply means your core meaning or your core reason for living. Now, of course, that doesn't necessarily mean only one thing. You may have several reasons for being alive right now. But the summum of all of that simply refers to your benefit of being alive in these times. And I'm absolutely sure, absolutely convinced, 100% that if you're alive right now on Earth, it is for a purpose. It's not for nothing that you're alive right now, that we are all here together. So your Ikigai is basically your reason to get up in the morning. It is your reason to be inspired and to inspire others. And it's actually not that recent. Its oldest origins, although in Japanese culture it goes back quite a while, even before these 2 millennia. But the oldest traceable origins of this word of Ikigai are all the way to the Heian Empire period in Japan. What I like about the story is that Kai actually, or benefit, your benefit for living, also means, stems from an old Japanese word, gai, which means shell. And if you think about the beautiful metaphor, it's like the pearl coming out of the shell. So it's Ikigai, it's actually all about you discovering your inner pearl coming out of the shell. So I really that concept really blew my mind, and it really touched me deeply, because yes, it's really bringing forth the pearl that we can create of our lives, and it has resurfaced the whole philosophy of Ikigai and building a meaningful life has resurfaced several times across time in Japanese culture. And interestingly enough, it has always resurfaced after periods of crisis. So recently it has been brought back after centuries of oblivion. It has been brought back into the mainstream culture in Japan in the 1960s, right after the World War II, after the depressions, and exactly when people needed it most, when the world had gone through complete reorchestration and very severe crisis and conflicts, and needed hope again. And hope actually comes from you being clear on how you're here to contribute to the world. At the end of the day, to me, that's the best definition of hope. It's about what you're here to contribute, knowing pretty clearly what you're here to contribute to the world. Okay. So yes, interestingly enough, the concept of Ikigai, before we go into it, is also linked to the blue zones on Earth. So some of you may be familiar with what a blue zone means. And for those of you who are not familiar, don't worry, I was not familiar until recently as well with blue zones. It simply means places on Earth where with the highest living average. So people who reach 100, sometimes 100 and over years old. So Ikigai has been linked to places like Okinawa in Japan, which is an island with the highest living rate, Sardinia in Italy, and other such places. And what was common in all of those places is that people, when interviewed, and you can actually do your own research and on the internet and find out plenty of things about the blue zones on Earth. The number one thing they all have in common is that the elderly living there, if you interview the elderly, bless them, people who have reached 100 and over, they all have this common thing in common. A common thing. They have reached a stage where they are in peace with their lives, and they've reached a stage where they are in peace with what they have contributed to the world, and also they're still in their elderly age very much connected to their community. So again, it boils down to contribution, being in peace and satisfied with your contribution, and community. So how are you connected to your community? People who experience that sense of connection, constant connection to their community around them, we're living more fulfilled lives. We're experiencing the joy of waking up every day, and seeing another sunny day. So yes, it also means having something to look forward to every day. So interesting. I encourage you to research the blue zones on Earth and find out what are the defining elements of the blue zones, and see how maybe you can enact or create or bring in some of the elements of the blue zones on Earth more into your life and your loved ones' life. I will not speak more about it because there's plenty to be said about it. Just another little insight for you, it also has to do with their diet. So look into the diet that people living in blue zones have. Very, very interesting. A sustainable, healthy, holistic diet. Okay. So this is the time where I actually take a break from speaking, since I've been speaking for quite a while. And I give you a practical assignment, because we really want to make these masterclasses as practical as possible. So you take away, each time you take away a framework that you can directly implement in your lives afterwards. So in the next 2 minutes, I would love you to just take some time to write down as many passions as you can think about that you have currently. So these may be things you love doing, or things that you love seeing or watching. So to give you an example, I love writing poetry, which is true. And I also love astrology, but I'm not an astrologer, right? So I want you to just write down your passions. It doesn't mean that you're actually doing that, but really things that when you click, when you connect with them, or when you see them, really inspire you. So let's all take the next 2 minutes to do that. I've already done the exercise though. Yes. I will gently, let me just check how many people we are. I'm going to ask Ivan, how many people are we? Because I cannot see.
We are 18 at the moment.
Beautiful. Okay.
And I just wanted to add, for those of you who don't have paper, you can always use your phones, or you can type on your computers.
Great idea. Type in your phones as many passions that you can think about. So these are the things that really ignite you. And one thing that I wanted to mention as well is that even if you're familiar with the concept of Ikigai, like I am and have been for a few years, it's always, always, always worthwhile and always interesting to redo this exercise actually once every couple of years, because as we grow, as we evolve, sometimes our interests, our passions, our hobbies, our things that we look forward to shift as well. And in my case, for example, the list just goes longer when it comes to my passions. So we live, we learn, you know, like the saying goes, we live, we learn. The list only gets longer. So you don't need to actually write down necessarily all of your passions right now, but just start by filling in this list and give it a good thought. And you can always redo it once you have the link of the recording. You can take more time to redo this exercise. I had done the My Ikigai map and had gone through these questions 3 years ago while I was building the Jumia Academy, the academy for the e-commerce I was working for in Africa. And interestingly enough, now when I redid the exercise, there's so many more things that came up on my list in terms of passions. It's like really, we live, we learn. Also, one more thing, very, very important. I encourage you to also write down things that here in this particular list, things that you are curious about and you would love to learn more about. Things that you are currently curious about and you would love to learn more about, maybe during the home confinement we are all in during the crisis. It's a great opportunity for learning, online learning. Things that you are currently curious about and you would love to know and to dive a little bit deeper in.
That is quite interesting. I actually think it's a great exercise to do probably every year because all our passions change, right, Alina?
Yes, yes. You may be somebody who has different passions every year.
and you know, maybe one year you think of something and then that you want to pursue this, and then 3 years later you actually check where you are and you kind of fine tune and figure out, are you following your passions or you just left them behind? So I think it's a great exercise to do regularly, probably.
True, true. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Our passions really make a dent, actually, in the universe, like Steve Jobs was saying.
And let me ask you, when you write your passions, do you organize them in categories? Like, for example, personal, professional, arts, travels, people, or you just, you know, put them in a list one after another, regardless of the topic?
Now, for the purpose of this exercise, since we don't have that much time, you can just write them down as they come to you. But I love the fact that we have an architect with us in the call who can structure and organize things so nicely. So Ivan, it's brilliant what you just mentioned. I find it super, I find it super worthwhile if you also categorize them afterwards. You can do that. It's a great idea. You can place them in categories afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you.
No, thank you. Great idea. Okay, so moving onwards. This is just the first step, guys. We have 4 steps, and then you'll be able to build a skeleton. I'm saying skeleton because you can always add more flesh to it afterwards of your Ikigai map. Okay, second second aspect to look into is really, now I would really like you to write down over the next 2 minutes on your phone or on a piece of paper what you are actually good at. What are your skills? Even if, and especially if they intersect with the hobbies, passions, and things you mentioned you loved before. Some of them may intersect, others not. Or you may have skills you're good at, but you don't particularly enjoy doing or you love doing. In either way, please write down all of the things you think you're really good at, or that people around you say you're really good at. The reason I'm saying that is because some of us are modest and really don't own our qualities fully, really don't own our skills fully. So yes, skill sets that you possess, but also qualities. Actually, I would encourage you to write down qualities. So for example, I was not aware of the fact that I'm a pretty joyful person that can bring more joy in people's lives. This is something I wrote down in my Ikigai map, until there were a few friends that brought it to my attention. You know, after I have a conversation with you, I feel better. It's like I feel more joyful. So that alone can be a skill, bringing more joy in people's lives. What are your skills that you are aware of, but also that other people have pointed to you? Let's take one more minute to write them down. Okay. And again, it doesn't need to be an exhaustive list. You can still add on it afterwards, after the call. And you can re-watch the recording. Number 3, as I said, there's 4 aspects we'll look into. Number 3 is really straightforward. So this is really a tangible list. Really straightforward. Number 3, what are you currently being paid for? Plus, what are the activities you think you can be paid for that you're probably not doing at the moment, in the sense of you don't have them as among your current activities? What are you currently being paid for, and what are the activities that you can be paid for and that are among your skills as well? This is a very straightforward list. Okay. And last but not least, again, you can add on to that list later. Very, very interesting question. And it's actually the missing element in most frameworks that have to do with building a meaningful life. Most frameworks look at what are your skill sets? What are you passionate about? What are your monetizable skills that you can be paid for? But they most of them actually they miss out on this essential point, which is your contribution to the world. So what I really would like you to ask yourself for the last question is really, what does the world need? What are the current global priorities And you can extend them to also the next 2-3 years. What does the world need right now and over the next 2-3 years? Now, this may intersect or may not intersect with some of your hobbies or passions and things you're being paid for. So I will leave you the time to write down 3 ideas, at least in terms of what does the world need right now. And very quick reminder for those who have joined in later, there's going to be a recording of this masterclass. So Ivan, is it possible to post it on the Facebook event, the recording?
Sure, yes, we can post it there.
Okay, so that anyone who has missed it can also have access to the recording. Okay. But it's always good to do things live, you know, it's like you feel the momentum, you feel the energy. I always love joining things
Absolutely.
live as well. And you can interact. And we'll have a chance to interact in a moment.
You know,
Okay.
I've seen this graphic Ikigai for so many years, but I never actually sat down to write down all the content. You know,
Yes, I know it makes
I
sense,
looked
right? But you don't
I looked
take
at
the
it
time
and
to
I
go with
thought,
it.
okay, well, I get it, I get the point, but until you actually take the time to write it, it doesn't really work for you. So
Yes,
thank you
yes.
for doing this for all of us.
You're very, very welcome. Yes, it's like with anything in life. We may mentally know a truth, or we may mentally know something that makes sense to us, yet it only becomes of value when we act on it, when we implement it. But basically, when we act on it, when we bring it to life, because acting on it brings it to life. Activating it brings it to life. Speaking of activation, a common passion of mine and Yana. So cool to see you on the call, Yana. Okay, so now I will just, for those of you who are not very familiar with the Ikigai framework, but also for those of you who are super familiar with the Ikigai framework, I'll just quickly walk you through it and what it is about. The reason I wanted you to do these 4 inquiries, 4 deep inquiries and exercises was because actually this ancient concept teaches us that our sweet spot in terms of our life purpose and what fulfills us lies in the middle at the intersection of these 4 areas. What you love doing, or even if you don't master it, but you love reading about it, watching everything about it, grasping, you're absorbing everything about it. Also what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and also what the world needs. If you only focus on one of them, usually your energy gets a little bit depleted. The balance lies in the middle. If you only, for example, focus on what you love doing and what you're good at, but you're not being paid for it, nor does it contribute to the world, then you ultimately reach a sense of uselessness, or, okay, nobody sees me, I'm so little, nobody cares about what I'm doing, you know, because you're not being paid for it and you don't see the benefits, how it's impacting the world. However, if you only do things you're being paid for, if you only focus on being paid for what you do, yet you feel no love, no satisfaction for it, you end up being burnt out usually. You end up being depleted as well in terms of energy. And even if you have these 3 elements, which are common to most frameworks and coaching programs that have to do with building a meaningful life, even if you only focus on if you focus on these 3 elements, what you love doing, what you're really good at doing, your skill set, and what can be monetizable, so what you can be actually paid for. What ends up over time, and this effect is actually noticeable only over time, what ends up happening is that there's a slight feeling of emptiness that starts to creep in at some point. And the emptiness is always linked to the fact that you don't see the bigger impact that you're having in the world. And that is the last circle here, looking at really what the world needs and how you can align your skill set, what you really love doing, plus what you can be paid for, with what the world needs. This circle also is very typical of people who are doing a lot of humanitarian jobs. But if you the problem with only doing humanitarian work and not focusing on being paid for it as much as you're passionate about it ends up with at the end of the day a lot of frustration when it comes to income. So really a balanced approach looks at all these four areas. Your passions, your skill set, what is monetizable from them, and also how you can align them to what the world needs. So yeah, let's look at what is your sweet spot so far, or if you can notice even 2 or 3 intersections among these circles, that would be great. So this is the time when I open it up a little bit for shares. How does your Ikigai, for those of you who have done the exercise, look like? And do you notice maybe some untapped opportunities? First question, actually, I would love to ask to you is a very simple one. Let me structure in order the questions. What intersections do you notice among your circles? Maybe there's something that you love doing that you're also good at, or something that you're good at that you're also being paid for. What are some of the intersections that you notice? So this is where we open it up for questions and sharings.
So if I may break the ice, no, I have so many passions. And for some of them I get paid, and for others I'm not interested in getting paid. I just do them as part of my personal growth. And so I think it's important also to see where we want to spend our time, and be given that our time is so limited, like how do we make the most of our time?
Yes.
And in my personal case, is my work as an architect, if I can share, you know,
yes.
the work that I do as in design, and also the work that I do in educating other people, creating communities, and empowering others to do their work. And so I am quite passionate about that work. Getting paid for it, it's a bit harder, because people are not always used to pay for certain things. But also I'm not so much in the sales mode often, so I'm more in the contribution and more on like doing things because I'm passionate about and because they're part of my mission. But I'm not so focused on getting paid for that, and that's one of the hurdles that I have, because if I were to get paid more for what I do, I could do more of what I do. So
amazing. Yes, that is
so that's
your
where I am.
untapped opportunity.
Exactly.
You
So that's my
very
little
well.
sharing.
You
So
identified it very well, Ivan. Thank you for that. That's your untapped opportunity. You identified it super well, and you also have the solution to that. I believe you mentioned it slightly, which is being focused a little bit more on sales. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily need to be focused on sales. If it's not something that you feel comfortable with in this circle, what you're good at, it could simply mean asking for help with that, or bringing it help, or finding a friend in your beautiful wide network that is a super
right.
salesman, and meeting him for coffee so that he can give you some free insights into,
Right.
into great stunning
Definitely.
techniques. Yes.
So for our guests, I invite you to turn on your microphones. So basically on the bottom left of your screen, you will see the camera and the microphone button. So if you would like to turn on the microphones and share something or ask Alina anything, now it's a good time.
Hi, Anda here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Anda. Beautiful to see you here, dear.
I know Alina from Bucharest. We used to volunteer together in a service club.
Yes.
That was
Humanitarian work.
Yes, maybe 6 years ago. So it's very nice to meet here online. I wanted to say something and then maybe ask a question that I think is relevant to what we're discussing here. That I'm good at. I wrote something that I think I'm good at, and I'm also getting paid for it. So more into the professional side. But about this passion and the way you kind of reach Ikigai, maybe my story is also a bit different because, or somehow different because I'm not a native resident of the country I live in now. So I'm an expat in another country, like some of you as well. And getting paid for things that you are passionate about sometimes is not really possible because you're not the right fit for the market, or maybe it's not the right time. So when we're discussing this, I see a tendency of becoming a bit idealistic about opportunities. So I would like to ask, what's an approach to have to keep being optimistic and have this idea that it is still gonna be well?
That is a great question. And thank you for that. That is a great question. It actually, we tap into that question in the second masterclass we'll be running, which is looking at the current reality. So here, with this particular life map, building your Ikigai map, which is basically your life map, the purpose is to really dream big and allow yourself to see what are like the whole list of what are your passions, what is your skill set, what does the world need right now, and what you can be paid for, but also identifying the untapped opportunities like you just mentioned. And in the second masterclass, we carry you through looking at what are the most feasible options you have at your hand at the moment. And taking you step by step to how to enact that vision. Now, another interesting element is that, as you mentioned, the market you're in may not be the right fit, but it doesn't mean that if you have a passion that you're really good at as well, so at least two circles intersect, it's also a passion and you're also really good at it, there's no reason, and it also serves maybe potentially something that the world needs. It doesn't mean that at some point it cannot be monetized in another market. So the opportunity here may be finding a market that, with the advent, of course, of the online services, finding a market that is a better fit for your skills, even if you stay in the current country you're in.
Cool.
That could be an untapped opportunity, not the skill itself, but the market, looking at a new market. Yeah, so that's why, like, every one important thing to mention, and thank you for that question, Anda. Once again, one important thing to mention is that your Ikigai is your Ikigai, full stop. Like every life map I've seen is different. And also the opportunities you may be facing are also different than other people's. Is there a question? I think there was something, since I'm projecting the slides, maybe you can tell me, Ivan, if there was something typed in.
Not at the moment, but that's a good idea. If someone has questions, you can either turn on your microphone or you can also write them in the chat.
I just wanted to ask Anda, does that answer your question?
Yes, I think I just wanted to kind of hear some viewpoint on it. As you said, it's quite personal, and I guess depending on how much time you spend on thinking about it, it can also differ in intensity. And if you really spend time on developing the map, I guess after a few hours of thinking or days, the opportunities will kind of rise. You will see, okay, this seems like something I can try out, and really go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds amazing.
But thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome, dear. And to give you an example with speaking about the market opportunities, when I started my company, Growth Hives, I thought that the focus would be Africa. And actually my services are more required at the moment in between Europe and the Americas. And actually, it didn't mean that Africa actually was not at all one of the continents that I was meant to work with. I always thought like, okay, that is an untapped opportunity. I need to at some point find a way to relate when it comes to coaching services, life coaching and executive coaching to ignite my network in Africa. And actually, just being aware of the fact that it is an untapped opportunity can bring you situations, circumstances, people that can help you enact that opportunity. That's why it's so important to clarify your Ikigai, to clarify your life map, but also what are your untapped opportunities of intersection in between these four elements. Because what actually happened while I was thinking, okay, this is an untapped opportunity, a few months down the line, which is later down the line, which was actually a week ago, I had a call with a platform that brings best coaches, puts them in touch with African companies. So a collaboration may start out of it, but it's not me going to the market. It will be facilitated by somebody else. So long story short, there are so many opportunities that there are many ways to tap into an opportunity. You can do it yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. There are many ways to tap into an opportunity. You can do it yourself, or you can be guided towards finding the right people, the right situations that will enable you to tap into that opportunity. Okay, let's see more examples. Let's take one more example before we go into the last part.
Well, I can share something. Hi.
Okay, we have two examples.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Daniela, right?
Yes. Well, yes.
Hi,
Go
Daniela.
ahead, Daniela.
Okay.
Then we'll hear Triana. Yeah.
You can turn
Correct.
also you can turn on your camera if you want to.
Okay, okay. Just a second.
Yes, we see
Can you see me? Okay, hi. Nice meeting you all.
Hi, Daniela.
Hi. So I was doing this, and actually I had a very interesting insight doing it. And so I realized that some of my passions are really related to like being nature and self-development. So those are things that I really like it. And also my skills, I am a biologist, and one that skills that I identified is also looking for balance and trying to I think I'm good in intermediating and going deep in conversations and looking for deep understanding of things. And actually I realized that is something that I really like to do, like understanding mind and going in deep and being nature. And also as a biologist, I see that what I can do it for in terms of what I see as a sustainable world is actually this a good combination of what I see what the world needs. It actually is a more sustainable world is related to going to our inner internally analyzing and awareness and compassion and peace. And I think this combination about nature and deep understanding of ourselves, it's something that can flourish in a way that the world needs and something that I can contribute it. But I never could understand well how those things could be combined somehow. Because one side I was like, oh, I should have done a psychologist because I'm so good. I really like those going deep on mind, but at the same time I'm like the science background, so it was something that I'm trying to combine those things.
Yes, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Daniela. What this exercise does, building your Ikigai, building your life map, is that it allows you to have these sudden sparks of insight, sudden breakthroughs. Oh, there are areas that could potentially intersect. So what I see you currently realized is that there's a common denominator there in between connection to self and connection to nature that you can bridge. Because as a biologist, you know very well about the interdependencies and the ecosystems in nature. So connection to self and connection to nature, how can we bring that more in line? Because it is what the world currently needs. It actually is one of the major priorities that in the world right now, is for us to become more aware of our impact on nature, but also aware of our impact on ourselves, because it's actually due to a lack of disconnection with ourselves and with our emotions, with our lives, that we have ended up being disconnected from our planet as well at the end of the day. And I'm not the first one to say that. I'm not the last one. There's a lot of people out there speaking about it. So thank you for that example, Daniela. It's a beautiful insight you have, and yeah, the next thing is to the next step is really to look deeper into what can emerge out of it and to contemplate it over the next few weeks, because we all have so much time at our hands now. Thank you for that, Jana, and Diana is the last caller we take before because I don't want to go too much over time before we wrap up.
Okay, thanks. So I've noticed, like, the left side, what I love, what I'm good at, paid for. That's kind of like okay, but what the world needs and like my mission, it's just not in my life. Like, you know, even just asking that question, there's so much fear in my stomach, and you know, it's about showing myself, stop hiding, and really bringing the gifts out.
Yes.
And you know, and lots, like on all the questions, there's just dancing, and I know, you know, I bring energies and transform them through my dance, and Cap is helping with this, but it's just merging those two together, and yeah, being confident enough to, you know, go out there.
Yes, there's this common saying, Jan, thank you for sharing that if your vision does not scare you, then it's not big enough. Have you heard about that before? If your vision does not make you fall off your chair and completely scares you, then you're not putting a dent into the universe. So this is the time to dream big, and dream big in alignment with what the world needs. And yes, of course, dancing and looking overall at our energy ecosystem is part of the equation. And dancing, when it helps rebalance people, you know, helps bring people from their minds back into their bodies and more in touch with their bodies and their natural joy state. So of course, it's so needed. Thank you for sharing that example. I really am so in awe at the diversity of the examples shared here. Thank you so much. You're all beautiful beacons.
Alina,
Yes.
there are a couple of questions that just came through the chat.
Okay. Yes, please, Ivan. I don't see them.
One is from Mariana, and she said that maybe, let me just see, I believe in general that what you're good at and what you love can intersect, and maybe also what the world needs. But I'm afraid that when you try to monetize it, it might stop being enjoyable. Do you have any insights for that? So the monetization, it's, you know, some people So I believe she means that when you start to make money out of it, or charge for it, or try to monetize it, then you kind of lose the joy and the love for that thing. That's the first one. And Sivan has asked another
Let's take
question.
them one by one. I will just quickly, because I don't want to forget. So to answer quickly, Mariana, it's very good question. And what I like to do as a coach when I work with people is look at the core thought of, so looking at the statement, and the statement you just made was, if you start making money out of what you love, enjoy doing, and is also servicing the world, then it becomes not enjoyable anymore. So what I would encourage you to do, instead of thinking that, is to look at when exactly in your life up until now did it happen that when you started earning income, things became less enjoyable, and looking at what exactly made it less enjoyable. So looking at what ignited that core thought, because what was true 5 years ago, it really needn't be true today. What I'm finding, and I only speak of experience here, there's no best way. We each have our own individual way, and that's what the Ikigai says as well. We each have our own fulfilling life to build, and which is different than our neighbors. But from my experience, monetizing our skills and passions has to do with really starting to believe in ourselves enough to realize we are worthy of being paid for what we love. So looking at what is our abundance mindset there? Do we believe we're worthy or not? And secondly, also in my experience, I feel a bigger sense of fulfillment. I never thought this would be the case, but I feel a much bigger sense of fulfillment when I earn out of something I really, really, really love doing. However, the stumble block I had to face, and this is something I work with my clients in coaching on to discard. The stumble block I had to discard was the mindset that I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy of earning for what I love, which is a very common mindset, by the way, and it is present in a lot of the world population, because when we grow in our families, a lot of us have to fulfill certain requirements. A lot of us have to prove ourselves. So the simple fact that we have to prove ourselves and our worth to our parents, or in school, or in different situations, that little mindset that is ingrained in us since we grow out of childhood into adulthood, the fact that we have to constantly prove ourselves and earn a diploma, earn an income, earn and prove ourselves, that little mindset makes us face this defining stumble block when we become entrepreneurs, or when we start really diving deeper and trying to monetize our passions, diving deeper into what we love. And it is many times detrimental, but it's not a big stumble block. It can be overcome over time. The fact that we are worthy, it really takes a big sense of awareness. So being aware of where it came from, when it was initially built in our childhood or in our teenagehood, and being aware of it is number one and 50% of the job. And the rest of it has to do with developing the tools we need to constantly remind ourselves that we are worthy of earning out of what we love and what we are passionate about, and what also brings a benefit to the world. So again, this is my experience. And you may relate or may not relate to it, but I found it super, super beneficial to work on this particular mindset blockage that a lot of my clients face, and myself as well have faced it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're super welcome.
And the other question, Alina, is from Sevan. Is there a companion concept that relates to communication when one is proceeding with their Ikigai? So how do you communicate your Ikigai, in other words?
Oh, that makes the subject of another complete 1 hour, at least 1 hour lesson, and that is communicating your vision. So definitely that is part of the last masterclass we have built. It's a series coming up soon. But yes, communicating your vision consistently, in a nutshell, has to do with you looking at what are the how you can stand out. First, how you can stand out from similar visions, and bringing out that energy that you have inside when you think and reflect about your vision, bringing out that energy for the audience and looking at how you can create it for the audience you are communicating to. These are just 2 elements. It's a longer story, but I hope it starts to answer your question.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so to wrap up, some of the takeaways from this session. Again, your life map is really unique to you. I found a lot of joy redoing this exercise. I actually redid it before our session today, and filling in this huge, beautiful map and realizing there are more intersections than ever. So maybe I'm just getting old, but the intersections in between the circles of what you love doing, what you're good at, what you're being paid for, potentially can be paid for, and what the world needs are, as you grow older and as you start learning more about yourself, are starting to get clearer. So I really love the fact that it was a lot clearer now, as opposed to 2 years ago, as opposed to 4 years ago. So your Ikigai is unique to you. If you have had insights from this session, please don't hesitate to leave some comments on the Facebook event. We would love to hear from you. Also, I'll share the email of Ivan and myself at the end. What I would also love you to remember is the fact that your Ikigai is not fixed, so it can evolve across time as you start to better dig into your passions, as you start to better understand yourself. Like the lady Daniela, I think was her name, mentioned, she always was a biologist, but it's recent that she discovered her interest in psychology. So there are always new elements of yourself. As long as you're in a human body, there's always elements of yourself that you can still discover and unveil. So your job is to bring them to your awareness. And interestingly enough, the last element that I would like to leave you with is that what the Japanese that came up with the concept of Ikigai also believed is that life is not about constantly being happy, because it's an impossible concept. You cannot wake up necessarily every day thinking I'm on top of the world. It's normal. Life happens in cycles as well, and sometimes we experience periods of downward spirals or of crisis, like we are currently experiencing. So it's not about constantly being happy and never having a thought that is taking you down, but while you're having that thought that is taking you down, Ikigai is about knowing, okay, today I'm feeling less good. Today I'm going to allow myself to just lie in my bed and take some rest. But at the same time, I know what I'm working towards. So simply, it means having a clear vision. To them, Ikigai was about knowing what you're striving towards, knowing what you're working towards. Maybe work is not the right word, because it's more about enjoying. When you have a clear, compelling life vision, you start enjoying a little bit more going towards it. And while you're going towards that vision, it's also about finding inner balance in your daily activities. It's finding joy in the journey and not in the final destination. So there's these 2 concepts. It's about having a clear vision, which is the Ikigai map that we started crafting now. And while you're having that clear vision, finding balance in your daily life. So starting to enjoy the journey towards the vision. So with that said, I'm going to encourage you to take the next couple of days to really fine-tune this map that you all started working on now, and think about what you can actually bring of value once this whole situation is over. Or some of you may be inspired to work on it, start working on it now, and bring more of yourself online, or bring more of your passions online, even if it starts with free like this free webinars or free services. And also what may happen in the next few days is that you may get sudden insights. So after you leave this map on the side, you go take a nap, or you go watch a movie that you enjoy, and then suddenly you may get an insight about, oh, something else that you need to add to that map, or how different sections start intersecting themselves. So yes, take it away with you, make it your own, and play with it. That's the encouragement. Your vision is your vision alone, and it's what animates you. So yeah, that's the masterclass for today. I hope it was pretty clear, pretty compelling, and it's not over, in the sense that we are also preparing more to follow up. And the questions you had actually are pretty much in line with the series that we are creating. We are creating a series of masterclasses called Elevate, because in this downward spiral that a part of the world, if not most of the world, is feeling right now, and it's normal to again feel the downward spiral, and to feel the dread, and to feel the fear and panic. But at the same time, it's not normal to leave ourselves in the rut, to abandon ourselves there. It's our responsibility to constantly pick ourselves back up. And as you all know, some of the greatest inventions happened during times of crisis, and some of the greatest inventors on this earth have gone through several failings before their ideas actually got acknowledged. So in that perspective, we really want to accompany you with a series of masterclasses called Elevate, and inspire you during the current situation. So what the series Elevate is all about is, it's a step-by-step guidance into how to actually build and enact your Ikigai life vision. So starting from the building blocks that we laid today with the Ikigai map. So in a nutshell, it is 3 large masterclasses that will look at. The first one actually will take a holistic view. The 3 masterclasses that I want to present actually take a very holistic view. That's what the number one thing I want to make clear. They look at 3 different elements of enacting your vision: the physical, the materialistic aspect, the energy, and the emotions behind it, right? We touched upon it briefly today. So the first one will look at what are the practical steps. So we look at the material practical steps you can actually take to enact your life's vision. The next best thing you can do, starting as of today or tomorrow, when it comes to really putting in practice that vision that you have started crafting today. The second masterclass, which is scheduled for the 23rd of April, will look at another interesting element we often discard, and that is building habits that constantly energize ourselves. Because guys, let's be realistic. How many of us, I'm guilty of it too, how many of us have started the year, if we look at what happens in January every year, we start off the year with a compelling vision saying, oh yes, I'm gonna get on the treadmill and I'm gonna work out every day. And then what happens is that it works for 1 week or 2 weeks, and then we lose across time. So that's why this particular element, the second one, mastering your energy, is really critical to success. So in the second masterclass, we will look at what are the habits that, and again, this will be personalized to each of you. It's different for each of us. what are the habits that will sustain me in actually enacting my vision. And what we will do from a practical standpoint is build our own energy map. I won't tell you more about it, but there's such a thing as an energy map. Build our own energy map and really look at the vital points, the vital habits, vitality, right? It comes from vitality, the vital habits that will constantly feed our energy so that we go step by step closer towards our vision. And last but not least, the third masterclass will look at another defining element of success, and that is our emotions. Again, this is an interesting research you can do online. It has been scientifically proven that most decision making, no matter how rational we think we are, most decision making has emotion at its core. So our mind is geared in such a way where we can justify, if we're very rational, practical minds, we can justify any decision. But at the end, at the core of it lies a core emotion. So that's why mastering our emotions is really, really important. Looking at things such as stress, building emotional resilience, and also looking at how we can use our emotions in a way that propels us forward. How can we build that emotional stability and groundedness that will propel us forward in the vision? Because at the end of the day, it boils down to at least these three elements to enacting our vision. The three elements, again, have to do with the physical aspect, actually taking steps on our vision, energy, building energized habits that will energize us, and we'll look at that in more detail in the second masterclass. So physical aspect, action, energy, and emotions. So looking at how we can actually better manage our emotions, and when we get off beat, off track, how we can constantly pull ourselves back so that we can actually stay on track with what we have planned and what we have envisioned. So any consistent action plan to enacting a vision should always consider these three elements: the action, the energy behind the action, and the emotion behind the action. So that's what we have prepared for you in the next few weeks. Now, as you can imagine, there's a lot of work, and I'm bringing forth years of study and research, and also running these classes for big companies forward. So normally, yes, I've gone through each of these explanations, and we'll share the slides as well. Maybe we can share the slides in PDF format, Ivan? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes, so normally the pricing that would go behind each of these masterclasses. This is a series, as I was saying, but we really wanted to, given the current conditions and the current situation, to really make it affordable to everybody, as many people as possible to join. So we agreed to value each masterclass of $50. So if you actually are only interested in following one masterclass out of the three, you can purchase it at $50 only until Monday the 6th, until next week. Or for those of you who are really committed to going through the whole track and really committed to enacting their vision, there is, again, a limited offer. We have bundled all of the three masterclasses at only $79. Three masterclasses plus, at the end, what we will do is we'll go through a 2-hour group coaching call where I will take all Q&As and help you actually fine-tune all of the frameworks that we will go through, so that you can integrate every single aspect, the action, the energy, and the emotions behind building your vision, integrate every single aspect of it into your life. So that's the bonus, the fourth masterclass. And it's again at the same price, the special price for the bundle. So yes, that's the follow-up. If you have questions, or also if you would like to sign up for any of the masterclasses or all, you can contact both me and Ivan. Our emails will be posted on the group, and we can definitely take it from there. Also, I think we will prepare a few more free surprises in the future. So stay tuned for that. If only you have joined today's masterclass, I really want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If only you take this simple step of building your Ikigai map and really contemplating on it, and in the following 2 days, fine-tuning every single aspect of the 4 quadrants, of the 4 circles that we talked about. If only that happens, it's already a huge gain. And I would love more people to actually take the time during these weeks, upcoming weeks, to do that sort of internal work where they realize what they are here to do, what they are here to contribute to the world, based on their previous life experience and based on what really animates them and brings them passion and purpose currently. So that's our invitation, to really take it and make it your own, this map, in the following days. Yes, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's been a pleasure to run this masterclass, and we've gone a little bit over time, and we'll share it again with you, the whole recording, on the group. Yeah.
Thank you, Alina. This was fantastic, and thanks for sharing your wisdom and experience with all of our guests. We really wanted to offer this for our community in this time of crisis, because a lot of people are stuck in their homes and they can't go too far. So it's a good moment to rethink our lives, and I personally have been spending a lot of time on it recently. I have no other choice. And so we wanted to offer this to the community and to support you as much as we can. And again, what I love about this series, from my experience, is that it really helps you with the implementation. I've done a lot of other programs in the past years, and I went through the entire Landmark curriculum and the entire Tony Robbins curriculum. So I've invested thousands of dollars into personal development and trainings. However, what I think is unique about this is the implementation part, which is what we'll see in the next weeks. How do we connect the vision to the emotion, to the energy, and to our implementation plan and make it a reality? It doesn't matter how great your ideas are until you put them into work and you actualize them and create some kind of output out of them. They just remain ideas. And so what we will be doing here in the next month is to support you with every step of the process. And Alina is very generous to offer her help and to guide all of you who decide to join this journey along the path. So thank you, Alina, again, for being with us, and thank you all for joining us. I really hope this was helpful, and really hope to see you in the next weeks with our Elevate series.
Yes, thank you all. Very, very grateful to be here with you today.
And again, if you have any other questions, just email us or post on our Facebook event, and we'll be happy to respond. I'll send a follow-up email in the next days with some of this information and also the recording for you to see if you want to go deeper into any of this content. So I hope to see you soon. Please stay safe and make the most out of your time at home.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alina.
Ivan, are there any more questions on the group? I can't see.
No, I think that was all. And everyone is saying
okay.
thank you. Beautiful. And how much they appreciate it.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I'm not missing any questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank
All
you
right.
all.
Thank you all for joining us. Be well. All the best.
Thank you. It was precious.
Oh,
God
we
bless.
have Anna here.
Yeah. God bless you. It was precious. Thank you very much. I love the program. I appreciate that you're giving in such moments something that really humanity needs. Bye.
I appreciate your support,
Thank you,
Anna.
Anna. Nice to see you.
Always.
Thank you all for joining us. Be well.
It was marvelous. It was really great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Take care. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.